podcast. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation on this Monday, the penultimate Monday of August, and we get into maybe an explanatory conversation this hour because it's for people to really understand what is going on. So coming in over the weekend, and I'm just going to register my wish once again that hope everyone will be able to provide for their children as you go back to school this week. That wherever there is a shortfall, that it will be filled. So karibuni sana as we get into this conversation. We start off our conversation this morning at 7 o'clock with one around, registrations and parties and whether it's a coalition or not. It's gotten a lot of attention. Titus Mukhanu is the Linda Mwananchi Council and joins us in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning for us to look into issues around the law and politics, party registration and security accountability. Good morning, Wakili.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
I appreciate your invitation. Thank you to our viewers.
So we're going to get into a couple of things just to be able to get some understanding, and we'll discuss further and see what it all means. But before we do that, you may or may not know, we go around the African continent every week. We come back from a different country. We come back with a lot of things, knowledge, information, and they're proverbs. Dennis will share the proverb. We'd love to get your interpretation of it.
So today we are in Morocco. You think about Morocco or about capital Casablanca, the largest city. So they say Casablanca, you go see the good things. You want to party, you go to Casablanca. Rabat is the capital. Serious things happen there. But you visit there, make sure you order couscous. And some mint tea, which is considered to be the Moroccan tea associated with them. While tunasema huku kwetu, we are the originators of chai ya kawaida black tea. Wao ni mint tea. But the proverb, when deeds speak, words are nothing. When deeds speak, words are nothing. How would you interpret it?
Obviously, it's something that more than often we've come across it, and where it is always said that actions speak louder than words. Basically, it's an adage that simply means the actions of someone speak to what they think and what they fathom more than what they say. A good example is you will see a lot of leaders in this country saying that we want to end tribalism. We have to ensure that we move the entire country together. But when they make those public appointments, they appoint entirely 80% of the people from their tribe. So that is a good example of when deed speaks, words do not have any place in such an environment. That is how I'll understand and interpret that adage.
Interpreted. Well interpreted.
Okay, so let's get the elephant out of the room if possible, or at the very least start to chip away at it. Is Linda Mwananchi a party, and has it been registered as such?
Straight into it, Linda Mwananchi is still a movement.
Okay.
We are in the process of having it registered.
Okay.
So that is basically what is happening, and our viewers need, and our supporters, our followers, and our members need to understand that the legal process is still ongoing because as of the 7th of this month, there was a communication that was made from the registrar of political parties informing us that they are not going to allow us to have that name.
And why was that?
There are certain number of reasons that they have given, even though I will not want to divulge so much because we need to make our followers, our viewers, and also our supporters understand that right after we received that response, we did challenge the process, and the process is now at the tribunal. We are expecting to get a reprieve as soon as possible. And we want to assure our supporters and our members that white smoke is coming out very soon because we have put all the necessary reasons and grounds that point to the fact that there is absolutely no reason whatsoever for the registrar of political parties not to give us the name.
Okay.
So the position is on course, the movement is on course, and the name and the party is coming out very soon. Just the same way our flag bearer and our leader Honorable Edwin Sifuna announced while in Kakamega attending the burial of the wife to the senator of that place. He indicated very expressly that the party is coming, and that is the position.
Was the name secured by anyone else?
No, the name has not been secured by anyone else.
Okay.
And after Linda Mwananchi, our faction moved in to reserve the name, it was rejected on reasons that do not hold any position in law, and that's why we moved to the tribunal to challenge the process.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at Kenya, over 90 political parties as we speak at the moment, and all those political parties we speak about have gone through the registration process at the registrar of political parties. Everyone has followed that process. So from what you deduce as a legal mind, what could be the underlying factors? What could be the force that is stopping Linda Mwananchi from being a political party?
Obviously, the whole process, I can say, as it stands, there is no legal impediment as to why Linda Mwananchi movement should not be registered as a party. As regards the law, if you go through the Political Parties Act and the rules that have been adumbrated therein, there is absolutely no reason why Linda Mwananchi movement should not be a political party today.
Okay.
The reason why Linda Mwananchi is facing all these headwinds and hurdles is basically because of political reasons. There is that Linda Mwananchi has gained the traction that nobody expected, and it's ruffling some feathers the wrong way. Remember, Linda Mwananchi was a product of the violations that were happening within ODM. The ODM was riddled with a lot of dictatorship. There was a feeling that ODM is not going as per the script of its original founders, and the reason why ODM came to be in the first place. So that dissenting voice is what led to Linda Mwananchi. You remember there was also something else called Linda Ground. So, and when there was Linda Ground and Linda Mwananchi, people were watching, and over time and in the fullness of time, you have seen that the real position of ODM, the believers and the the spirit of Raila Amolo Odinga is with Linda Mwananchi. And you can see now Linda Ground has fizzled out and Linda Mwananchi has remained. So the popularity that Linda Mwananchi has gained because of what it stands for, because it speaks to the hearts of Kenyans. It carries the aspirations of Kenyans. If you talk about the respect of the rule of law and the constitution, if you speak about, taking back our country to the rails of good governance, and good policy, that is where you can find Linda Mwananchi. So it has gained a lot of popularity, and that has ruffled some feathers in the wrong way. That is basically the reason why we are facing all these hurdles, because there is apprehension that if Linda Mwananchi culminates now into a political party, there is nothing that is going to stop it from forming the next government.
According to the law, which one would assume is upheld by everybody who then is domiciled in this country, what would the law say? What does the law say about registration of parties? Can anybody at any time register a party if it falls under the Political Parties Act? Go ahead and register, should not be any issues.
Basically, the registration of political parties in Kenya is regulated, first of all, by the Constitution of Kenya. And it's a requirement that any person or an association of persons can register a political party for as long as it complies with Article 91 of the Kenyan Constitution. And the operationalization of that article has now been handed down under the Political Parties Act of Kenya, which basically provides that before you register a party, you must first reserve a name, a symbol, and a slogan. So once you make that intention very clearly and by way of a name and by way of an official letter to the Registrar of Political Parties, the Registrar of Political Parties has 14 days to communicate back to the applicant, informing them of whether the name, the slogan, and the symbol is available for registration.
Okay.
Now, once that happens, and assuming that the applicant is now notified that that name is available, they will have 90 days within which now to proceed and process provisional registration of that political party.
Okay.
All right? Now, once there are certain things that an applicant has to comply with under Section 5 and 6 of the Political Parties Act in terms of registration after the name has been declared to be available. Among the things that an applicant needs to submit is, first of all, within the 90 days, is the slogan, the symbol, the constitution of the supposed party, the minutes of the first meeting of the founding members, a list of the members, the statement of ideology of the particular party that they want to, they want to register, an undertaking by the applicants of their intention to be bound by the Political Parties Act and the Code of Conduct as provided by the political party, together with a prescribed fee. So those are the requirements that one will require to submit at the stage of provisional registration.
Okay.
Yes.
So there
are other steps before you get to full registration, but basically, in a nutshell, that is the interim process that one will be required to undertake.
So lawfully,
yes,
with all of those requirements and the prerequisites then having been met, should there be any reason why the Registrar of Political Parties would deny an application?
Yes, under Section 8, there are certain reasons that can guarantee a Registrar of Political Parties to decline either reserving or allocating or making available an application for registration. Among the things is that when you make an application, it should be that the name, the symbol, or the slogan should not be deceptively similar to an existing, registered political party. The reason for that is very simple: to avoid causing confusion. So basically, the name that you're proposing, the signal, the symbol, and the slogan should not be similar to that of an existing political party. The other reason why a political party can be declined is if that proposed political party or name offends public interest. And when it comes to offending public interest, you must demonstrate certain things. The Registrar of Political Parties must go ahead and demonstrate how public interest has been infringed or violated. For example, if your intention is to form a political party that, advances tribalism or, professes, marginalization of certain groupings within the Republic of Kenya, it offends the public good. It is meant to promote violence. It is meant to promote, corruption. Those are the things that can be categorized under public interest. So those are amongst the main reasons under Section 7 and the circumstances under which an application for registration of a political party can be declined.
So you look at all the provisions that you've given in terms of under what circumstances can one be denied an opportunity to register. But that notwithstanding, then we see Linda Mwananchi still going about their business as usual, speaking to Kenyans across the country with the hope that then the tribunal would rule. So what happens if the tribunal as well rules against the registration?
If the tribunal rules against our appeal, then we still have a second and third bite towards challenging that decision. We will then have a right to approach the High Court and challenge the decision of the tribunal on matters of fact and the law only. And even if the High Court still does not agree with us, or it still affirms the decision of the Registrar of Political Parties not to grant us our name and party, we will still have a right to approach the Court of Appeal, even though just on points of law.
Okay.
So we still have like 2 chances in the event that the PPDT, that is the Political Parties Tribunal, declines to grant us our wish of registering our movement's name, that is Linda Mwananchi.
But you see, when you talk about political parties, I mean, time is something of essence, because we equally live in this country, and you know the time taken through the judicial system.
Correct.
So then, whereas the delay is happening,
Correct.
What does that do then to the planning of political party? Because if you want to have a presidential candidate as well,
Correct.
there are different things that you have to do. You must be have your members 24, 25 offices across the country.
Correct.
These are things that you can only do once you've secured, once you've registered and you have that name.
Correct.
So what is this delay then doing to the preparation of the party in readiness for 2027?
Obviously, the delay tends to hamper our organization. That is something that we have to admit very clearly. But as communicated through the channels of Linda Mwananchi before, it has been communicated to our members that the most imperative thing that we really need to do is to secure the name. Once the name has been secured, we've got so many options that are sitting on us on the table, because ideally it's accepted across the board that today in Kenya, it's highly unlikely that a single party can proceed to elections and win elections on its own. Okay. There are pre- and post-election coalitions that must be entered with by any political party given in any given time. And that's a reality that is happening on the ground. That's why you see we are, as Linda Mwananchi, we are very unequivocal, and we are coalescing around the united opposition. And that's why we are speaking in a very progressive manner towards all the members that are in the united opposition. We are saying that at an opportune time, we will be able to persuade the members of the united opposition to join hands with us, so that we proceed and, by God's grace, make this administration a one-term administration.
Is there a timeline when you talk about registering a party, especially now that you're approaching 2027? And what's the cutoff date?
First of all, the settlement of a political party's dispute as required by the Act, such as the one that Linda Mwananchi has now found itself, it's supposed to be processed and concluded within 3 months. Given the timelines that we are looking at, we are not late. We are able to conclude. And remember, the matter that is now proceeding before the Political Parties Tribunal has been filed under certificate of urgency. Given the urgency that we have, it is imperative upon the tribunal to process it as soon as possible. And when we are talking about the urgency that we have, it will not be surprised that if we conclude this matter within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, whereas it's difficult to separate issues of whatever nature from the political aspects of things, especially within the arena that Kenya is currently playing, it might be necessary to then look at what the law says. That should be, not can be or might be, should be. Ought to be the guiding principle in anything that's done. Correct. Now, as individuals who formed Linda Mwananchi, have largely come from ODM. There are others who have come along the line and joined the movement.
Correct.
So, do these individuals, from Edwin Sifuna to Karoli Omondi to anybody else, James Orengo,
Babu,
do they still remain ODM members before Linda Mwananchi has been registered? Or in what capacity now do they operate, knowing full well that the political party system is the modus operandi for Kenya?
Now, what I will say is that the issue of our principals declaring whether they are still members of political parties, of ODM, or whatever the other political units that they have previously belonged to, those are matters that are very personal. Because remember, in this country, we've got something called the Data Protection Law.
Indeed.
So until and when we get official communications from each one of them to say that I am no longer a member of ODM, it becomes very difficult for a person like me as a legal counsel for Linda Mwananchi to speak to those matters.
Fair enough.
Yes.
And I get that.
Yes.
What I'm asking is,
Yes.
can they operate, and I'm not even talking about their personal, where they are.
Correct.
But within, anybody can come at you and say, you're in no man's land here. Because are you here or are you here? What legally, how are you able to operate legally whereby you may be in a party, you're waiting for something to happen? Is there this period where you're kind of allowed to be in limbo?
Now, the law says that the only expressway that someone can be deemed to have left, for instance, ODM. Okay, of course, we as the founders and the originators of Linda Mwananchi, and most of our members having been previously belonged to ODM, they all agree that ODM is dead.
Okay.
Politically, it's dead, and we are basically giving it its final burial rights. It's not going to be resuscitated. In fact, even the remnants, and the ruins that have remained in ODM have confirmed that they are not going to field any presidential candidate in 2027.
Okay.
So that's a clear confirmation that is a party that as soon as Baba died and he left us, that party has been auctioned by the people, the very people who are supposed to, engender the visions that Baba stood for. But as it stands, that is a confirmation that has come from them. So if a confirmation of such nature has come from most of the members that belonged to the party, it becomes very unstrategic for any person to occupy any political space to continue remaining in a political party that is dead.
Yeah.
Ideally, for one to confirm that someone has left a political party, any person will be deemed to have left a political party once they officially resign.
Okay.
But that does not preclude someone who intends to leave a political party that is dead from planning for the future. And the planning of the future means coalescing around and coming up with a movement like Linda Mwananchi that will then progress the very foundation that once belonged to ODM.
But
so that is basically what is happening.
But one asks the question, if you look at, let's talk about Sifuna, Karoli Omondi and Babu Owino being, and James Orengo being the front runners in Linda Mwananchi movement.
Precisely.
So under the political parties, does it stop, say, these members who are in ODM from registering another party? Does the law stop them?
No,
from registering?
There's nothing like you remember, if you read section 4, it simply says any person, organization, or an association of persons can register a political party in Kenya. It does not say that if you are currently a member of another political party, you are precluded from registering another political party. So that is how the law comes.
But how do you read that with the fact that under the Political Parties Act, or rather the party constitution that these individuals do fall in, there are express orders that tell them the moment you start associating with another movement or another party, then you are deemed to have been misbehaving in these political outfits that you belong to. So I'm just asking, whereas there is the section that you've quoted, what happens to the party constitution that then precludes what happens to an individual who is in a party?
Correct. The political parties has to be read in context.
Yes.
And it has to be read in conclusiveness, as an entirety, as an entire document. Section 14 does preclude dual membership of parties. That an individual cannot belong to one or more than one political party at the same time. But then again, you realize that at any given point, such an accusation has been mounted against someone who is perceived to be progressing the ideas of another political party, whereas they belong to one political party. Such an individual has to be given a right to be heard. So it is until that process is exhausted that one will be deemed to have either left the political party that they currently belong to, or it will be deemed that he's now officially progressing the ideologies of another political party. So it is something like a trial, a hearing that has to be conducted. And that accused person has to be given a fair hearing. The moment you do not give them an opportunity to come and, clarify why they are engaging in that, then it becomes different, and you can't deem that this person belongs to, 2 or 3 political parties. So it's very crucial that that happens. And if you don't do that, then you cannot deem that this person is actually engaging in activities that can be deemed as such as contemplated.
All right.
Okay. He's a counsel for Linda Mwananchi. Titus Mukhanu is with us.
Titus Mukhanu.
Mukhanu, I beg your
But
pardon.
for those ones who can't pronounce the name well, if you're not a lawyer, you can simply say Baraza.
Okay.
Another Baraza. Okay.
Yes.
Well, look, apologies for that, Titus Mukhanu. He's with us this morning. We're going to take a break and come back and continue this, because then looking forward into who can be held responsible in this time of limbo, whereby somebody would ask which entity then now brings a complaint. And we're looking into what could be, understanding what the law says, and then trying to operate, if possible, within the confines of the law, and understanding that it will be peppered here and there by politics. Now, let's understand that as Linda Mwananchi continues waiting for its registration, that there's a lot of political activity going on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there is a lot of conflict already, even before you get into campaign proper.
Okay.
What happens and who can hold whom responsible as an entity, as an individual, if something goes wrong? Kind of like what we saw in Homa Bay. The Linda Mwananchi team also wants to go to Migori County.
Yes.
And already the warning bells are already clanging to say, if you come, it's at your own. The CS Interior has asked questions about, why would you go to a place where there are goons? Why would you take yourself there?
Very absurd.
We are warning you.
Very absurd.
All of these conversations are happening simultaneously. So how then can action be taken for which an entity has not been yet recognized and or held, with all of these things happening?
No. The way I understand your question is that given the environment that we've witnessed before, the violence and so on, who is supposed to be held responsible?
Yes.
First of all, in this country, we've got a constitution which regulates and guarantees, political rights. And it's very clear, and make no mistake, there's no confusion.
Okay.
Every person in this country is allowed to exercise their political rights as given by the Constitution. The only way those rights can be curtailed is if those rights infringe on other people's rights.
Yeah.
Now, when Linda Mwananchi expresses itself that it wishes to visit Migori County, it wishes to visit Homa Bay County, and we have served our notices to the relevant authorities. The relevant authorities being the OCS and the police officers that have been given the mandate to command and enforce law and order in those regions. And remember, we just need to notify them. It is not even the police to approve our intention to have our political activities.
Right.
We simply need to notify them.
Yeah.
And it is the responsibility of the law enforcement agencies, starting with the National Police Service, to ensure that law and order is maintained. They are supposed to ensure that nobody interrupts our political activities, and those ones that are participating in our political activities are not interrupting with the business and the activities of other Kenyans who may not wish to be part and parcel of our activities. So when we hear the CS of Interior saying that if you intend to conduct political activities in a certain area, and in this case he was making reference to Homa Bay, that they informed us that they've got information that goons have already been organized themselves. It speaks to the incompetence of that CS, because number one, the role of the Ministry of Interior is to ensure that it brings on board all the law enforcement agencies, and there is law and order in this country. Law and order in the sense that when they receive information that there's a particular criminal gang that has organized itself in the name of goons, they are supposed to act through the National Police Service, arrest those people. Because when he says that they received information that there are goons in Homa Bay, it means he knows these goons. It means he knows the people who organize these goons. It means he knows the people who are financing and moving these goons and giving them the weapons and the ammunitions. So they're supposed to arrest these people.
Allow me to interject.
Yes.
Just for purposes of information.
Yes.
With this, what he's saying, did he, in fact, to the best of your knowledge, inform the Linda Mwananchi team that they had received intelligence that there were goons in Homa Bay?
We received that information after the harm had already taken place. So he's trying to be clever. And this is not the first time that we are seeing the CS trying to be clever. Even though we know how he has conducted himself, he has exhibited a lot of incompetence. Because if you have such kind of information, and I believe that he consumes raw intelligence, it is even on record that he says he knows where most of these politicians sleep. He has said it. He has said it. So he has got an array of information. What the CS ought to have done is to ensure that these people who are trying to interfere with the Linda Mwananchi political activities are arrested, and not just arrested, processed and taken to court, because they have the evidence. And this confirms now, today, that if the government today wants to crack down goons, it can do it because they have the information and they have the evidence. So this speaks to how low our government has sunk in ensuring that they do not protect the civil and the political rights of any Kenyans who want to participate and conduct their activities. And when I look at these things, it is not by accident. It is very deliberate. It is very deliberate to the extent that they want to ensure that all manner of distractions are put in place so that they dissuade Linda Mwananchi, because they know that Linda Mwananchi is very popular. It speaks to the hearts of Kenyans, and that's where every Kenyan wants to go. And if they let us conduct our activities in peace, we are going to persuade all Kenyans and we are going to form the next government.
Okay.
That is what they are afraid of.
Are you concerned about the fact that, like you've just mentioned, the role of the security agencies in the country? So you have the cabinet secretary, you have the IG who's independent, and the other institutions under IG. So you talk about information that they had, that would mean NIS had shared this information and they should have acted on it, right? But you look at Linda Mwananchi rallies that have been there before, there have been numerous attacks. There has been an incident where tear gas was thrown, and the leaders are like, we're not running away this time around. We are here to continue. What do you read about the independent institutions that we do have, whether it is IPOA, failure of police to do their job, individuals in Homa Bay County, OCS, OCPD, because those are individuals supposed to ensure that anyone who's passing through Homa Bay or living in Homa Bay is secure. Are those directions that perhaps you're following in terms of personal responsibility?
Now, you know, these institutions and systems in any government or environment are always meant to work. But the occupiers of the offices in these institutions and systems are the ones who are always used deliberately or inadvertently to ensure that systems don't work. If you look at the office of the IPOA, it has got very good laws, it has got a very good legal framework, but it doesn't work. Have you ever asked yourself how? It's because the people who have been appointed are appointed in a manner that is preposterous. They are appointed to serve the masters who appoint them. And that is, you even saw recently, there is someone who is supposed to take over the reins of IPOA. And I know that gentleman. His vetting went to Parliament.
Yes, it is.
And our spokesperson of Linda Mwananchi took him to pains to explain how he was able to acquire his law degree. So already you can see his credentials are tainted. And unfortunately, governments, particularly this government, it has got a penchant of appointing people with skeletons. I think for obvious reasons, so that they can manipulate them the way they want. So that these people can be advised how to work. You know, we've been told that this government has hired so many advisors, and this government hires advisors and advises those advisors to advise it. So clearly this is a replica of what's happening. But most importantly, these institutions need to rise up before partisan politics. They're supposed to understand that they're here to serve Kenyans, and tomorrow the people holding the reins of power today may not be there.
Yeah.
And we are telling Kenyans that all these atrocities that are being meted out against our supporters, our members, and any other Kenyan who belongs to any political faction, we are documenting them. And as soon as government changes hands, these people who are perpetrating these, atrocities are going to be brought to book, because that is the fresh start that Kenyans are expecting. That we need to reset this country to respect the rule of law and the constitution, because it cannot be business as usual that we want to reset our country onto the new path that Kenyans have envisioned, and yet we try to overlook some of these things. So we have to communicate it very expressly and very unequivocally to the perpetrators and these people who are sitting in these offices, either deliberately or inadvertently, superintending commissions and omissions that are eventually, meting out a lot of atrocities on Kenyans, that we are not going to allow them in the new dispensation. They're going to be brought to justice. Yes.
There are a number of the principals of Linda Mwananchi who serve currently in government.
Correct.
As senators, as members of parliament, sitting members of parliament, who sit in committees, who do certain work. Who, interestingly enough, just over the last couple of weeks, even well before this, I believe one of the first individuals to have been dropped from a committee was Karoli Omondi, and this was months ago. And
Senator Sifuna has been dropped and put in another one. He's been taken to the Agriculture Committee, thinking that it's a demotion. But he's found a new place, and Kenyans have followed him there.
And they're not the only ones. A number of moves have happened. Correct. From
Ososi has also been dropped.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you? I mean, it's almost so obvious. It's a big animal sitting in the room staring at us. But, because we just have to put it out there and ask, is this connected in any way? And number one, lawfully so, to the politics of the day that we see?
Obviously it is. And the sad thing is that ideally in a working society, simply because you've expressed your dissenting view, you're not supposed to be punished for it. You're not supposed to be removed in a committee where you are discharging your duties and mandate effectively and competently. Look, for instance, Senator Sifuna. He has been in the Public Accounts Committee of the Senate, and together with others, they have been doing a very good job trying to bring governors to book to answer to the monies that Kenyans are giving them. But because of his political, differences with certain ranks in the, in the arrangement of the government, he has been dropped. So in a working society, that ought not to have been the place, not to have been happened. But because the current setup of our parliament is such to an extent that today, and without having kind words, parliament is an appendage of the executive. That's why you see crucial bills, for example, the finance bill. A majority of the members of parliament do not even bother, discussing and critically analyzing every issue. They simply wait for the time to vote. It's been said that a majority of these people are under capture and they are used as puppets. They are voting machine. They are like vending machines, and that's why there is need. And that is the proposition that Linda Mwananchi proposes to Kenyans, that we need to do an overhaul of Parliament and the Senate. We need to remove most of these people who do not understand why they were elected. If Parliament and Senate was working, the principals and the members of Parliament and the senators that are sitting in Linda Mwananchi who will not have been removed from the position they are serving simply because they have expressed their dissenting views, because it will require a certain threshold to be met before they are removed. But because these people, receive phone calls from State House, that is exactly what is happening. So it is political witch hunt. There is no meritocracy there. There is no rule of law. There is no competence that we can see in how these people are being removed.
Because, Okili, you look at mature democracies. We have those who support government, there are those who oppose government, and there are those who've been elected within those parties that have formed government that still oppose what government is doing. And it is all hands on deck, including those who are opposing, those who are criticizing, to ensure that a country becomes better. Now, when you look at a situation where many have been turned to be puppet masters, rather they've allowed themselves to be the puppets, right? One asks the question, what's the bigger picture then in terms of making Kenya's politics and democracy work, where everybody's allowed to speak, and that should not be taken to mean that you are against the government, but correcting the government for the betterment of the people?
Yeah, the only way we are going to reroute our, nature of politics and how the mechanics of politics are going to work for the benefit of people is that we need to get and elect people with integrity. We need to move away from this trend of electing charlatans and criminals into parliament. It's on record. For example, there's a certain county I wouldn't want to mention, but I think you've heard that in the whole county, all the MPs, it's only out of about 7 MPs, only one has a degree.
He might know the county.
I might know the county.
Yes, there's a county.
Yes.
That out of the 7 MPs elected in that county, only one has a degree. So when you have all these charlatans getting into parliament, you will not expect that they are going to discharge their mandate competently, because in parliament you expect to read the Hansard, you expect to draft bills, you are expected to bring motions. So someone who has not gone to school well, it becomes impossible. Someone who is corrupt, when they get themselves into parliament, that person cannot work, because the government of the day can easily manipulate that person by simply pulling out his file and telling him that if you continue with this direction that you're taking, we are going to reactivate, your file, and you're going to find yourself in court taking plea. So that is how our competence in this institution has been watered down. So the beginning point is to ensure that as we move towards 2027, Kenyans need to interrogate. They need to, seriously check the person they are trying to elect into these offices. Because when you get people who have gone to school and people who are beyond reproach, it becomes very difficult for the government of the day to manipulate such kind of leaders. It becomes difficult for the government of the day to capture parliament when you have those kind of leaders in parliament, and they will definitely exercise their independence mind, and we are going to see competence, and we are going to actually have space for diverse views.
But Okili, one would challenge what it is you're saying, because at the moment, as we look at the political space, especially within Linda Mwananchi, everybody that has been in government before, those that are considered to be charlatans and incompetent individuals, as according to Kenyans, are seen to be associating with Linda Mwananchi. So even as you spread the gospel of we need to clean this house, bring in people who will not be used, people who will stick to the rule of law, one is asking the question, but the people you associate with are the very same people that Kenyans have a concern.
First of all, I will want you to tell us some of those people that are considered to be charlatans. I don't know who they are, but I'll give you a good example of a person that it is known, someone who is incompetent and someone who has not gone to school. Aisha Jumwa, and I will not even mince my words, she tried to come to Linda Mwananchi, and everybody in Linda Mwananchi was against it. But the young people were against it, because they were saying,
but not SCs or
They were saying that when this government was perpetrating mayhem against Kenyans, she stood with the perpetrator of this mayhem. Kenyans were telling us that this is a person who, according to, the basic, ingredients of competence, she does not meet the test. Kenyans were telling us that in the free and compulsory education system that Linda Mwananchi is propagating, she's supposed to be a beneficiary come next year. So how do you want to bring on board such people and say that these are the people who are going to, emancipate Kenyans, and people refuse? So the point I'm trying to say is that, of course, we cannot restrict each and every principle from relating with some of these riffraffs. But as a policy, we have made it very clear that we want to bring on board people who are competent, people who are decent, people who are, beyond reproach, so that as we spread the gospel of resetting Kenya, we can motivate Kenyans, and we can actually give a role model in terms of the institution. So this is exactly the position that we are saying. This is exactly the position that we're saying. But if you tell us some of those people, after I leave studio, I will process it through our ranks and say that Kenyans are saying, this person should not be here, this person is there. And by the way, we welcome public participation and opinion. And you see, our leader, Edwin Sifuna, has said it very clear that we need to reset this country where we respect the Constitution and the rule of law. Everything, when you respect the Constitution, the economy of this country will be governed well. The money that is supposed to go to the counties will go well. Even the shiny things will be built based on proper, transparent procurement processes. So basically, that is what we are saying.
All right.
We can't have this conversation without looking at what happened over the weekend last week.
Yes.
And
that is in Homa Bay.
Yes, in Homa Bay.
Obviously.
Now, no matter what political side that you're on, that humanity demands that you have an iota of consideration.
Correct.
That the violence that took place, we saw a lot on TV, but what we're told a few days after was horrible in terms of what happened to human beings.
Correct.
And I'm going to say human beings. I don't care what side of the political divide anybody is on.
Correct.
This happened to human beings.
Policeman, there's a policeman who was injured.
Right. We have people whose legs were chopped off. We had
women and children.
And I mean, it's crazy that we didn't see this, but that it said it happened.
It's very sad.
Now, that being the case, or otherwise, that it brings about a very worrisome picture about what could happen in the future. Because if you look at what's happening history has a way of repeating itself, and the person who came up with the adage was not stupid. They knew that this will replay itself at some point, if allowed. If allowed. How can it not be the case from where you sit? And I realize that it's a subjective question, but how can it be avoided?
Now, it's very simple. We are getting into a political mood. And this political mood, it's not by our own, making. It's by the making of the Constitution. We know for a fact next year we are going to have elections. And Kenyans are saying that we need to change this government. So we as Linda Mwananchi, we have, coalesced around, and we are trying to speak the language that Kenyans want to hear, because the education system is not working, health is not working, there is runaway corruption, so many court orders have been violated, there are so many children that were abducted, and to date their families do not know their whereabouts. So those are the things that have informed us, and they have compelled us to come out and try to give Kenyans an alternative. And in the process of giving the alternative, the government of the day has sensed that we are speaking to the hearts of Kenyans, and Kenyans are with us. Instead of supporting our activities and protecting our activities, they are the ones who, they have information, but out of negligence, they are permitting these goons to meet violence and atrocities against us and other Kenyans. So it's very simple. The government of the day, the security operators, they need to ensure that they rise above partisan politics and do their job. Because when they do their job, these problems will not be there. Kenyans loving each other, that's a moral question. But Kenyans respecting the law, that is a legal question. You may not force Kenyans to love each other. You may not force some factions of Homa Bay or some factions of certain quarters of this country to love Linda Mwananchi and vice versa. But as a country, we must ensure that everybody complies with the law. So if everyone complies with the law, I can assure you we will not have these problems, and we will have a very smooth election period, and we will have a very smooth transition where this government will be going home and Linda Mwananchi will be forming the next government.
Well, there it is. Titus Mukhanu is the Linda Mwananchi Council, has been here with us this morning.
Thank you
and
so much.
The law and the constitution seems to be the one that's shining here.
Correct.
Asante Sana, thank you. We look forward to the next conversations and keep us updated about what happens here.
I will.
follow.
Is the Situation Room the only way to start your